And what's up, everybody? It's Terminator Juice, and I'm back. It's been a while. This is Juice Opinions number 38, but I haven't done one of these in a couple weeks at least. Just been really busy with work and actually doing stuff for the summer, having fun, and helping a friend out, take care of some stuff. So I took some time off from work, got some family from Colorado in town starting later today. So I'll be pretty busy. Who knows? Probably still do the podcast on Monday. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I got a little free time here. I know it's early on the West Coast, but I figured I had some time, so I'm gonna give my thoughts on this whole Capcom, their plan for third parties or for releasing games on the Switch, and then some other third party stuff. And I'm not gonna shy away from saying who has what opinion, but I'm not really I agree and disagree with other parts, or with other people who have different opinions. So I agree with something OJ says, but then I completely disagree with another thing. I agree with what Ms. T says, and I necessarily don't disagree with something he said, but I'm not as I don't know. I feel like I can see both sides a little bit, but I'm definitely leaning more towards this is stupid, and Capcom's, I don't agree with what they're doing. So let me I got nothing written down. It's just going to be off the top of my head. Try to remember things. I got a few things I know I want to say, and just try to hopefully explain my position. And yeah, so let's just get started with the whole announcement. During their, and I think, quarterly meeting, Capcom said they were going to release Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2. The first one was never on the PS4, so that's coming to the PS4. And I think they're re-releasing 2, maybe. I'm not sure. I didn't really look into it that much, as two separate games. And then they listed the Switch as well coming in the fall. They didn't give a date. So they also pointed out that Street Fighter 2 sold 450,000, and it was, they were happy with that, and they want to support the Switch more. So that's good, but it also goes against all the other reports that they were there when the hardware was being designed, giving their input, making suggestions about the RAM and stuff. Who knows who actually got Nintendo to make that call? Maybe it was multiple people saying the same thing. I'm not 100% that Capcom was the only one, and that they were the final nail that got the RAM bumped up. Some people say Monolith Soft had a hand, and I'm sure other companies had said, even Ubisoft probably could have. We got no reports, but I'm guessing that a lot of people said, hey, bump up the RAM. But if Capcom was involved at that early of a stage, and all we've gotten is an Xbox Live Arcade game, and now a 3DS game port, and then also, a PS4, PS3, PS4 type cross-gen game in Revelations 2. That's the third-party support because Street Fighter so well. And my biggest problem is, and there could be a couple different reasons for sure, but why the fuck is the Switch version coming later? Revelations was ported to the Wii U. It was ported to PS3, Xbox 360. It was a 3DS game. It's 4 or 5 years old. If you've had the Switch since the beginning, if you had input on the RAM, obviously Capcom would have had dev kits early. Street Fighter came out pretty quickly after the launch. Why isn't this game day and date with the other systems? Now, I've heard, well, Mario plus Rabbids is coming out. Well, change the date for all of them then. That's stupid. How many times do Nintendo fans have to say, why are we getting these games later? Is it going to be a week later, 2 weeks later, 2 months later? We don't know. And because of Mario, then don't release the PS4 and Xbox One versions that day. If you don't want to compete with Mario plus Rabbids, wait till October. When horror games, when it's Halloween, it's fall, people are thinking they want to play a horror game. Wait till then. Why hold the Switch version and not even have a date? Now, maybe that's because Nintendo, there's all these games coming out, and Fire Emblem and Xenoblade don't have release dates. Maybe they didn't want to lock in, but they got to be talking to Nintendo. If they were there talking to them about the hardware, How come they're not talking to them about release dates? Mario Odyssey comes out October 26th. You're going to say that you can't release it then? When are they going to release this game? Can't release it with Fire Emblem? Like, just fucking release it. It's a completely different genre. Let me mute my phone here. It's a completely different genre for Mario plus Rabbids, Mario Odyssey. It's a survival horror game. It's an old game. It's $20. Release it. You don't think people can buy Mario plus Rabbids and a $20 Resident Evil game? Like, that's not an excuse. That's stupid. Just hold. Whenever you're going to release it, have the Switch version come out at the same time as the other ones. It just looks bad. And I'm sick of seeing that. I'm sick of hearing it. 2K, for whatever reason, can't get the physical copy, which they haven't actually announced. It was just in their investor briefing report that WWE and NBA are coming. The physical copies coming later. The digital will be there day one. So obviously the game's going to be done for the Switch. Why is the physical coming later? Is it a cartridge shortage situation? Is it a memory problem? The memory card's not big enough. Who knows? But at least the game's going to be done. It's coming day one. But just speaking to parity, why is the Switch version not have a release date for a port of old games when they've had dev kits from the beginning? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Just release it. It's not... Mario plus Rabbids is going to sell well, but having a $20 Resident Evil game there too is not going to hurt it. It's not going to make a difference. Do it the week before, do it the week after, and just hold all the versions for whatever release date that is. That's point number one. Point number two, who gives a fuck about a 3DS game that's already been ported in HD on the Wii U, on the Xbox, on the PS3? Who gives a shit about this game? Like, okay, if you're a Resident Evil fan, guess what? You probably already bought it twice. And Revelations 2 wasn't as well received. The way they handled it didn't even come to 3DS. Okay, you're bringing that, so it'll be the first time on a Nintendo system. But it's already been out. It's not as good as the first game. And you're selling them separately, too. Like, why aren't those together? Why is that not one game for $30 or whatever? Why is it the two $20 games? I don't understand that. That's a dumb decision. Bringing those games is a dumb decision. Why not Resident Evil 7? Why are we getting... First, we get a Super NES game that was on Xbox Live, and now we're getting a 3DS game as your next game, and then Revelations 2 was... I think it was Xbox One, PS4. That's your support. And then Monster Hunter's Double Cross, Japan only, saying, according to Nintendo Everything, that's another test for games on the Switch. The Switch sales, Street Fighter sales wasn't enough. Like, you're not already ready to commit. Like, and Capcom doesn't have a ton of games. They don't have a bunch of new games coming out. Revelations 1 and 2 is fine. It's a lot better if, hey, we're bringing Resident Evil 7 out on October 31st. But before then, here's a couple of Revelations 1 and 2 that people like, that old school Resident Evil style. Here they are. That's good faith. If you're a Resident Evil fan, you can get those games. They're newer. They're newer than like 4, 5, and 6. And then here comes Resident Evil 7. You guys are covered, Resident Evil fans. You get a Switch. We got what you want. Nope. It's just, well, Revelations 1 and 2, here you go. No release date. It's coming after the other systems. But to me, that's not support. That's as, like, I got an analogy. If you want to bring up, well, they got burned on the Wii U. They didn't. They only brought like a couple games, and Revelations didn't sell good on 360 or PS3. It sold good on the 3DS, almost 1 million, if I remember. It didn't sell well on any of the other systems. So that's nothing to go off of. But let's say you believe Capcom's being cautious because they got burned by the Wii U, which for Capcom, I don't think they could say that. So you're going to be skittish. You're going to, be cautious. For football fans out there, I know OJ watches a lot of football as a 49ers fan. Teams get burned in the draft all the time. They'll take a guy number 1 overall, number 2, number 3, and he turns out to be a dud. 2 years later, he's off the team. Does that stop them from drafting number 1, number 2, number 3. Sometimes they'll trade it away, but you still got to take the chance. You're not just going to give away your draft picks and sign, well, we got burned with a running back in the first round 2 years ago, so we're going to sign Ray Rice out of retirement because we don't want to get burned again with a high draft pick. No one does that. Every year, Cleveland Browns have a high draft pick. They draft somebody in the top 10, and they hope that it works out this time. Like, you got to do that. Now, football is completely different than video games. I mean, there's a lot more guaranteed money coming in. You know, these teams know they're going to make this amount of money with fans and stuff, but you can't just say, well, we failed 2-3 years ago, it didn't work out, so we're going to bring old stuff and safe stuff. Like, that's why I said Ray Rice. You know, he was a decent running back. You don't have to pay him a lot, and he might give you some production. You don't have to spend a lot on Resident Evil Revelations, porting it to the Switch. It's not going to cost you a lot. So the risk is, you know, maybe you make some money, or you're going to barely lose anything. That's not how you do it. That's not how you gain fans. And like Bezati always says, that's not how you invest in a fan base. Now, him and Real Gamer had a discussion yesterday, and they were both saying the same thing, but coming at it from different angles. And neither of them, I don't think, pointed it out. That Real Gamer blames it on Nintendo, thinks they need to invest in these third parties. And Mezati's more along the lines, well, these third parties need to invest in Nintendo fans and not expect a handout from Nintendo. So I agree, third parties need to invest. You bring Resident Evil 7 and Revelations 1 and 2, that's a lot better than just Revelations 1 and 2. Even though 7 is still pretty old at this point. And it's a decent game, but it's nothing amazing. These companies need to invest in Nintendo fans. And here, put this game. Well, it sold 100,000. Well, bring the next game. Bring next year's game. Sells a couple, 200,000-300,000. Okay. I guess if it sold nothing the next time, then that would be it. But let's say it sells about the same. The install base is getting bigger. Call of Duty, like I said, with the Wii U, Call of Duty Ghosts came out. The Wii U was at like 5 million. It sold less than Black Ops 2, which was a launch title. But by the time Call of Duty, the third one or the next one came out, the Wii U was up, 7-8 million, but they didn't give it a chance. Now, where I completely disagree with Real Gamer is he thinks Nintendo needs to invest by spending millions of dollars to get these third-party companies to put their games on the system. I completely disagree with that. Call of Duty makes hundreds of millions of dollars every year, if not $1 billion every year. Nintendo needs to pay them to get Call of Duty on the Switch? No, that's not how it should work. You pay them once, you're going to have to pay them forever. And why should you? If the game sold 300,000 copies, they made probably 8 million, 7-8 million on the game. That's not enough to get Call of Duty fans and Nintendo fans acclimated to a Call of Duty game on a Nintendo system. That's not enough. You can't just make 8 to 10 million and be happy with that, and then hopefully grow. And then the next generation, you'll have a better fan base from the ground up. The foundation will be there. Like, I don't understand, why anyone thinks Nintendo should pay for this shit, because they're already making hundreds of millions of dollars, these companies, these third parties. Why should Nintendo have to pay to get Call of Duty on the Switch? They shouldn't. And the fact that Activision's not bringing it just tells you they don't care about Nintendo fans. They don't care about 6, 7, 8 million and making on a Call of Duty game in a year with 200,000-300,000 units sold. They don't care about that. They don't care about us growing the audience on a Nintendo system with Call of Duty. So why should Nintendo pay for that? Why should they take the hit so that Activision can make 100% profit on whatever Call of Duty sells on the Switch? If Nintendo pays, for whatever the licensing fee, publishing, now Activision just makes 100% profit. There's no risk. Why is there risk anyway? You're making hundreds of millions of dollars on Call of Duty every year. What's the risk if you lose 500,000 or $1 million? You're not going to, but who cares? You've already made all this shit. You've already made a ton of money. invest in the fans. Nintendo's investing in us with all the games they got coming out this year and next year. Why should they have to invest in third parties too? That doesn't make any sense to me. And Real Gamer just jumped in. I'm talking about your point about Nintendo paying for these third-party games, and I absolutely disagree. Nintendo's job is to invest in their games and make sure they got games for us. And Activision, like I said, is making hundreds of millions of dollars every year on Call of Duty. They can't risk $500,000 to $1 million to port it to the Switch and maybe make $5-6 million. That's not worth it to them to build up a fan base. So I completely disagree with that. You know, there's especially GTA, like that game's made over $1 billion, still making money. Why not put it on and see what Nintendo fans do? See what it does on the Switch. Maybe you could get for the next, you know, build up a fan base for when GTA 6 comes out. You already have a built-in fan base. And, you know, don't tell me you can't run on the Switch, because they can downscale anything. If Call of Duty could run on the Wii, then any game can be downscaled from Xbox One to Switch if it's up to, if in my opinion. So anyway, let's get back to Capcom. So like I said, they're coming in pussyfooting it. We're going to bring these safe games that cost us next to nothing, these old games. And, you know, we're not going to announce anything new. And if you believe what OJ's thinking, they're waiting for the install base. More is going to come. This is just the beginning. Well, if this is the beginning, what's coming next? Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6 ports? I mean, what is okay with that? Like, to me, that's piss poor when you got nothing else new coming. Then what's the point of these old games? It's just stupid. And then the whole Konami brought Bomberman. Now, I bought Bomberman. It's the one of two games I regret buying this year. Didn't play it much. Not very good at it. But so far they've been updating it, and people say it's a lot better, and Bomberman fans seem to enjoy it. I know OJ was a big Bomberman fan in the beginning. He was on the Bomberman parade, praising how he was excited that was coming to the Switch. But now it's a negative, I guess. It doesn't count towards the argument about a third-party company can bring a new game and instead of old games. And to me, I bought Bomberman. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. But I didn't buy Street Fighter. I'm not buying Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2. And obviously Monster Hunter Double Cross isn't coming to the West, so I wouldn't probably bought that anyway. But that's your support? Like, that's pathetic. I don't care if it's 4 games total compared to 1 from Konami. That is absolutely a pathetic first year of support from Capcom on the Nintendo Switch, in my opinion. Is it better than nothing? Yeah, because I know Shadow Fox really loves Street Fighter, and people like Street Fighter 2, and it's a good version of the game. But to me, because I'm not buying them anyway, nothing would be better. I'd rather have nothing from Capcom than this slap in the face type shit. Hey, we're bringing old games, and guess what? They're not coming the same day as they are on the PS4, Xbox One. They're coming later. We're not even going to give you a release date. That's a slap in the face. That's not third-party support. That's not wait and see. There's more. This is just the beginning. Buy these games, and definitely OJ. I'm sorry. Buying Resident Evil Revelations and Revelations 2 is not going to get you Resident Evil 7 or 8. It's going to get you Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 ports, because the PS4 has all those games. That's what it's going to get you. It's not going to get you a new Mega Man or Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Infinite or whatever. I don't know if it's 3 or 4. That's not what it's going to get you. It's going to get you more old games. So for me, as it stands right now, August 3rd, 2017, knowing that 2 old games, 2 Resident Evil games are coming that were basically, one was a 3DS game, the other was a kind of a rushed, episodic game that people didn't really love. And Ultra Street Fighter, that's nothing to brag about. Without telling us, there's like take that, like I said earlier, let's say, hey, Resident Evil 7's coming and future games are probably coming. Marvel vs. Capcom's coming. Then those old games are just icing on the cake. They don't really, in my mind, it's just like the whole Metroid argument. Well, the problem with Federation Force is there's no new Metroid game coming, and we haven't had one in a while, and this is what you're going to bring us, Nintendo? You remember that? Remember the Nintendo fans? A lot of and non-Nintendo fans saying that, like, how can you bring this game without bringing Metroid Prime 4 or proper 2D Metroid game? How can you bring Federation Force? That's an insult. That's a slap in the face to Metroid fans. Well, doesn't the same apply here? Isn't that a slap in the face to Resident Evil fans that you're bringing two old games, lesser games, instead of your mainline game that, probably could use some better sales? It didn't do terrible, but it only did, I think, a couple million combined. Don't you think Resident Evil 7, your newest game that came out this year in October around Halloween, would be a better game for Resident Evil fans and for Switch fans? I mean, don't you think, unless they think Revelations is a better game and that's what they want to put out there? But I don't know. If you announced some new games coming, some parity with like Marvel vs. Capcom, like I said, or Resident Evil 7, then I could accept these old games a lot better. Like it's kind of a, yeah, it is what it is. I'm not going to buy them, but it's cool. But right now it's just like, oh wait, yeah, we don't care about you enough to give you a game we really think is our top tier game. And what happened to, was it months ago? Hey, we're bringing our AAA games. Revelations 1 and 2 is not your AAA games from, I'm sure, the meaning they meant. Resident Evil 7 and Marvel vs. Capcom and Monster Hunter, the newest one, not a new Monster Hunter game, not a port of a 3DS game to test the waters. To me, that's your AAA games. So, and then the rest of the third-party support situation. Yeah, it sucks that Take-Two and the NBA and WWE games, the physical, aren't coming day and date, but the game will be there digitally, which, why would I buy digital when I get 20% off through Best Buy for the physical? So I'm just going to have to wait. That sucks. But indies have been stepping up. There's been announcements like every week of indie games coming to the Switch. That stealth game, I forget what it's called. But, we hear about these games and then they don't come out forever. We've heard about a lot of games, indie games, that really have no idea when they're coming out at this point. But it's cool. And then Ubisoft, they're bringing somehow a 3-year-old game, or a game that's been in development for 3 years, somehow coming out on the Switch the first year. I don't know how that's possible because the Switch wasn't even a thought in 2014, but that's an OJ reference. That's one of the excuses I hear. The Switch wasn't even, the NX wasn't even thought of back when this game started. Well, how did Mario plus Rabbids come out, look amazing on the Switch, coming out in the first 6 months? How's that possible? It's been in development for 3 years. I understand, like Dragon Quest XI, obviously they announced that back last year at some point. They've had dev kits, but that ain't coming out. So obviously there is something to some of these games not coming out day and date. With Dragon Quest XI, it's probably one of those things where they wanted to concentrate with their team on the 2 versions they had already started. And then I'm guessing that now that it's out, their 100% of their team can now fully focus on the Switch version. I'm sure they've been porting it, but now they can fully focus on it. We'll see. It still doesn't really have a release date. It is confirmed to come to the West in 2018, early 2018. And then they got the Octopath Traveler and the RPG company, whatever that other game was, that's recently come out. So they're coming out with some games, new games, current games, old game with Setsuna. But it's obvious that there is something to, like, a Switch port for some of these games that have been in development aren't coming out day and date. Ukulele, Rhyme, these indie games, Tantalus is porting that. Obviously, it's taking time. So there is something to that. At some point, there's going to be a point in next year where that's not going to happen anymore. There's no reason in 2018 that we should expect games to not come out day and date if it's a multi-plat. If a Switch version is coming, it should be day and date. There's going to be a line in the sand where it's just that's got to stop happening. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But with like I said, the NBA 2K situation, there's something going on with the physical version. We don't know, but at least they're there day and date. And as far as the game releasing, obviously the special edition, Shaq edition and stuff, you're not going to get that. If you pre-order it, you're going to have to wait. So that kind of sucks. But and then I was talking about Ubisoft. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked. So Ubisoft, this game started 3 years ago. Maybe it was a Wii U game and it's in inception stage. Maybe it was designed for the Switch from the beginning using the Snowdrop engine. Looks freaking amazing. To me, it looks as good or better than like Ratchet and Clank on the PS4. Like Mario plus Rabbids looks just amazing. It's the best looking Mario game I've ever seen. And it's probably running at 30 frames per second. There's not as much going on. There's not the freedom of the camera, but yeah, I think it almost looks better than Mario Odyssey. It's just from a cleanness and just raw visual style. Obviously, Mario Odyssey's got a lot more going on, 60 frames per second, open world and stuff. But Ubisoft, they said that they were shocked at how easy it was to develop on the Switch and get the Snowdrop engine, which South Park, those two games were made using Snowdrop. So maybe they could bring those. I don't really care, but we got Just Dance 17. Steep's supposed to be coming out, and it feels like there was one other. Oh, Rayman Legends is coming out, I think, this month or September. So they're coming, like new game, brand new exclusive. Steep's not super old. Obviously Rayman Legends is, and then support for 2018. They announced that Star, whatever that ship game is, forget what it's called. So we got announcements of game coming in 2018. We got a new exclusive game, and then you can bring Rayman Legends. See, people don't even talk about that because we got new games. So if Capcom would do the same thing, no one would be talking about it right now. And yeah, you could say, well, Ubisoft's not bringing Assassin's Creed and Far Cry for all we know right now, but they have said, and EA stated a while back that they're considering more games. Capcom said that again, and it's obvious that the sales of the system and games are looking good, and these companies are like, well, we can make some money. Yeah, and I guess that's good business there. But being there from the beginning too, like I said earlier, T pointed out, it's investing in the fan base. You might have to take a hit on the first game if you're there early, but it might pay off in the end. I think it's worth the risk. And now the sales have been, the Switch is obviously going to be over 5 million now after Japan alone the last 2 weeks did 98,000 and 89,000. So basically 185,000 in 2 weeks. And we don't even know what the US sales were in Europe. France probably had a pretty big day with Splatoon. So the Switch is obviously going to be over 5 million by the end of this month. It probably more like 5.5, closer to 6 if they got their the shortages of the components figured out. The thing could do in Japan alone could do 70 to 100,000 a week. With Splatoon 2 out there, and what else? Mario Kart 8 still doing well, and Mario Rabbids coming. I don't know how Japan responded to that, but then Mario Odyssey. Mario games do really well in Japan. So the thing's going to be, by the end of this year, it should easily be 9-10 million. And then by March 2018, probably right around the Wii U number of 13 something. So, it does scream of, we were waiting and see, like OJ always said. To me, Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 being announced now and not coming day and date tells me they just recently made that decision within a couple months. I can't imagine a game that's been ported to everything, Revelations 1, 3DS, Wii U, Xbox 360, PS3, completely different architectures for each one of those. And if the Switch is easy to port to, there's no reason you couldn't get Revelations 1 ported to the Switch within a couple months. If Snake Pass can get ported in a month and released, I think Revelations, at least Revelations 1 for sure, should be able to get ported to the Switch. So I don't know. It's one of those things where, like I said, if you're Ubisoft, you're looking pretty good because you have pretty much said you're going to be there. You're here now. 2018, you got a new game coming, potentially more new games, and then you're bringing us some older games too to kind of fill in. That's fine. NBA, the Take-Two, they got burned with the Wii U, like Ms. T pointed out. They got really burned with the Wii U with NBA 2K13. And here they are with 2 games coming day and date, I guess the digital version, but they're coming with special editions and all that, making special announcements to announce WWE and then feature it on one of the WWE Raw or whatever. And to me, it's like, hey, we got some confidence. We got burned, but we got confidence. We think the Switch is gonna be good, and we're gonna put 2 brand new games out. Yeah, they're yearly games, but we're not bringing you the old version. We're bringing you the new version. EA, I don't mind that they're not using Frostbite for this FIFA because I think Frostbite's it's one of those catchphrases at this point where everyone just think, oh, Frostbite. Well, how'd that work for Mass Effect, having Frostbite? Didn't work out so well. So I'm fine with FIFA not using Frostbite and not having the journey because the single player mode looks retarded, and who cares? They're putting it in Madden, and I don't care. Just make sure the gameplay is good, rock solid 60, and the controls seem to be very responsive on FIFA. So I don't mind that it's not the Frostbite version. But, throw us a bone. Announce another game. At this point, have some confidence. To say, hey, I don't know which game would be best suited, but something. And don't be Madden. I don't want Madden or NBA Live or whatever, but just some other game you got in the works. Just throw that out there. Hey, we're bringing it to Switch. Just an announcement like that goes a long way. I pre-ordered NBA 2K18 as soon as they announced WWE. I was like, you know what? I was interested. I know T and Robert and some guys are getting it, and I'm happy they're bringing the game. Oh, they're announcing another game. Well, I'm going to go ahead and pre-order NBA 2K18 because I like the way they're handling it. I like their confidence in the Switch. So I had no problem pre-ordering that. Obviously, I'm going to have to wait now, which sucks. Who knows how long? Hopefully, it's not more than a couple weeks or a month, but it is what it is. At least it's better than just delaying the game outright on the Switch. I think having the digital version there is better than delaying, the whole thing. So anyway, we'll see. A lot could change in the next couple months. We could get big announcements or we could not. I don't consider Revelations 1 and 2 a big announcement. It's not. I could see why they didn't announce it at E3 because who really cares about these old games? It's not a big announcement in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. So doing it after E3 is fine, but it's just kind of weak. It's kind of limping into the situation, pussyfooting, as I said earlier, and just like football or sports, you get burned. You can't, with a draft pick, you can't just say, well, we're just gonna sign some old veterans and be safe and not spend a lot of money. It's not how it works. You got to invest. You got to get the high dollar free agent top players and draft the guys in the top. Try to build up your team. You cannot do the same type of bullshit that Capcom's doing, and we're just gonna play it safe and wait and see. Like that's not how it works. So in a lot of businesses, that's not how it works. But anyway, that's going to be it. I'm going to go play some Splatoon 2. Me and Terrell last night played league battles for felt like 2 hours, probably wasn't. We did a duo team and had a blast using the Nintendo voice chat. We used the Hangouts and the Nintendo app in succession. I will say the Hangouts audio quality is probably, I wouldn't say it's twice as good. I would say it's about, let's just say the Nintendo voice chat quality is probably about 70% as good as Google Hangouts. So it works fine, but it's definitely, I'm going to leave feedback that the quality should be equivalent to other phone apps. If I have to use my phone, then it should be top tier audio quality, which it's way better than in-game voice chat on 360, PS3, Wii U, but it's definitely not as good as Google Hangouts. But League Battles is a whole different game. Holy shit, we're playing Rainmaker, and these encountered some dudes that were, or guys or girls, you know, you can't really tell, that were just amazing at it. And we won a couple, and we had some close ones, but we definitely lost a few. So it was a blast, and I look forward to getting a team of 4 for League Battles, because it's really fun. And it wasn't super hard to get, just for anybody wondering, to get to that B level. You start at C-, you win, you gain a decent amount, you lose, you don't lose anything. If you lose the match, you don't go backwards. So what I did, I played, you know, Splat Zones, and then it switched. I got up to near, you know, the C- meter. I probably was 3/4. Well, when Splat Zones came back up, I played 2 matches, won them, and it went from C- to B. I thought I was going to go from C- to C, then I have to go to C+, then B-, and then open the league. But it went from C- right to B. So if you're, you know, worried about that, you just basically probably got to play ranked for like an hour. If your team wins, it's probably even less, and go from C-. If I don't know why, but Terrell's jumped up the same way. It jumped right up to B, unlock League Battles, and there we go. So get on that. Anybody that's up there with the ranked and you're good at Splatoon, I'd like to get a couple more members and do the 4-player league, because that's really fun with the voice chat app. Works fine. So looking forward to that. And yeah, so I'm gonna get a quick bite to eat, and I'll be on Splatoon 2 in probably about a half hour for anybody who wants to jump in. So thanks everybody for tuning in live. Let me know in the comments if you're watching this on the replay what you think. Yeah, and I'll see you next time. I don't know when the next Juice Opinions will be, but I'm guessing a couple weeks from now. So until then, everybody have a good time, good summer, and enjoy gaming, and we'll see you on Splatoon 2 hopefully.